welcome. This is a live event that was recorded for the Microsoft Azure Bern user group. As you said, so I'm Julien Dubois. Today I work at Microsoft where I manage the Java developer advocacy team. So we're a team of Java experts, and our aim is to make Java developers happy on Azure, and of course to make Azure easier for Java developers. So it's like a two-way communication. We show what Azure has got to offer, but we also go and listen to developers to improve Azure with regards to what people would like to have. I've been doing Java for more than 20 years. Today, people usually know me because I created a project called JHipster, and JHipster is like a code generation tool for Java, and it's very popular. So usually people know me because of this. I'm also Java champion. Java champion is a group of, would say, elected Java evangelists. I don't really like that name. Our goal is to improve Java in general. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm always on Twitter at Julien Dubois. If you also want to reach me to ask questions about what we're doing today, well, you can come to Twitter to talk with me. So we're going to talk about Java on Azure, and for that I'm going to do a sample application. As we are in 2020, it's something about weather alerts, because we've got like alerts all the time for COVID, for everything. So, we thought it was something current to do an alert application. Also, of course, this application should be very secured, very scalable, and that's also our excuse to show some features from Azure. So, by the way, we said we were going to talk about Java on Azure. More specifically, I'm going to talk about Spring Boot. So Spring Boot is not the only, of course, solution to run Java, but it's what most people are using. And so that's why it's my main example here. On Azure, we support a lot of other frameworks. So you can, of course, use like Jakarta EE and other things. It's not only limited to Spring Boot, but Spring Boot is what most people are using, and this is why I'm taking it here as an example. The other thing is that there are many ways to run your Spring Boot application on Azure. Here, I'm going to talk mostly about one, which is called Azure Spring Cloud. But if you want to run Java on Azure, we've got, for example, App Service, which is our platform as a service. So you just upload your WAR file and we will run it for you. We've got Azure Functions for serverless. You can run your serverless Java apps on Azure Functions. We've got many offerings for running Java on Azure. Here I'm going to talk about a specific one called Azure Spring Cloud, but we will see also that some of the things that I'm using here are generic and will work with the other ways to run Java on Azure. So let me finish with the slides because I only got 2 slides, it's live coding day. And let's get to the code. Can you still see my screen? Yeah. So in order to create our apps, there are different ways to do it in Java. But here I'm going to create I would say a very classical. I'm using something called the Spring Initializer. So it's start.spring.io. It generates a very simple project, but for a demo like today, it's really good. And for that project, I'm going to use some features from Spring Boot to develop my project. So I'm keeping most of the things by default because we're not doing anything very strange here. So it's a Maven project using Java, and I'm using the latest stable version of Spring Boot. What I'm going to do is add a few dependencies to my project. I'm going to add the web dependencies because I'm going to do a web project. I'm going to add security because I want to secure my project. I want to use also OAuth 2. So OAuth 2 is a way to secure your project with an external authentication server. Here, it's going to be Active Directory. I'm going to use, I forgot about this one, I'm going to use Timeleaf. So Timeleaf is a template engine for web projects. So I already selected web, but I did not have time live with it, so that's why I just added it. Well, that's already quite good for now. Oh, sorry, and I forgot. Azure, of course, we want to deploy in Azure. So if you don't add Azure, it's not going to be good. So those are for people doing Spring Boot. Those are what we call in Spring Boot what we call starters. So starters are let's say parent projects, which are going to give you versions of libraries and also auto configuration of those libraries. They all work the same when you are using Spring. And what is interesting here is that we've got a specific one for Azure. And this is on this one also that I want to focus on, just to show how Azure fits in with the Spring and how easy it is to deploy a Spring project on Azure. So I have selected all those. I'm going to generate my project. So did a demo.zip file. It's right here. I'm going to open it up with my IDE. So as it's it's the wrong window. Here it is. As it's a Maven project, it's going to work immediately because my IDE understands Maven. Here I'm using IntelliJ, by the way, but you can use Visual Studio Code or Eclipse, well, whatever IDE is the best for you. And my project here is a sample Java project. I can either run it here using Maven, or run it here because it's an executable Java application. You just detail here. Here I've got my main class, so my IDE immediately saw it, and I can just click here, and my app will run. So it's a very simple application for the moment, of course. Don't expect it to do much. Here it is. It's started already. Let me open it up. Localhost 8080. And you can see that it's asking me to log in. So why do we have it like that? It's because I selected Spring Security, so we have security. I did generated a password here, and I can log in using admin and that password. So that's good, but here I've got only local security. It's not OAuth2, it's not an external server, it's not Active Directory. So that's not good enough for me. So that's the first thing I'm going to configure right now, because if I don't have security, well, I can't do anything. I need to be able to log in order to do anything useful. So let me show you how we can configure Active Directory with that Spring Boot application, and we're going to see it's going to be very easy. So first thing I'm going to do is add another dependency. So just going to my Maven configuration here. So in Maven, we can see we've got Spring Security, which is here, and we've got our Azure Spring BOM, which is here. So a BOM in Maven is what is called a bill of material. So this is just pushing you versions of the Azure libraries. If we click here, we can see it's version 2.3.5. So I've got the latest version of the Azure libraries if I ask to have them. So at the moment, we're not asking to have them, so we don't have them. So I'm just going to add one here, and I'm adding the Active Directory Spring Boot starter. So you can see it's like the other starters, but this one is made for Azure. This is going to configure automatically Active Directory in my project. And so when I go here to my Spring Boot configuration file, it means I'm going to have to do a couple of things. I'm going to have to add, well, in fact, 4 properties. So it's not good to show the secrets here, but as you can guess, I will disable them just after that talk. What I'm doing here is that I'm telling Spring Boot to use that tenant of Active Directory. We're going to have a look at that tenant just afterwards. And to use that tenant, I need an ID and a secret. And that's just how I authenticate to that tenant. And then everything will work automatically. Let me just rerun the app and show you the result. And then we're going to have a look at Active Directory to better understand what's happening here. So I'm going to run my app again. And now when I come to localhost, instead of having that older screen, I've got a new screen. As you can see, I've got I'm at my, and I can log in using different accounts. Here I'm going to use my Gmail account. So it's my real own personal account. This is my Microsoft one. This is my personal account. So what I'm doing here is like anybody can do, it's not specific to Microsoft. And I'm logged in. So I've got an error. I've got a 404 error because I've got no application coded yet. But you can already see that I'm logged in because otherwise I would not have the 404 page. And we'll see afterwards what information we can get from Active Directory, like my username or my roles, that kind of thing. Let's have a look at Active Directory now. Here I'm in the Azure portal, and I've got a resource group, which is called demo for what we're doing now. And I created before. Oh, my mouse is not working. What is that? I'm sorry, I can't scroll. Sorry, my mouse will not scroll. I don't know why. So I unzoomed so we can see here. So here I've got an Active Directory which is configured, which is a B2C Active Directory resource. And inside that Active Directory, well, I created an app. That app is the one I'm using, and I gave it some permissions, and I gave it a client ID, and it generated a secret for me. So I could connect on this to log in. Let me change my tenant so we have a closer look. We can switch, and my tenant is this one normally. Now I've got to dupe because I've got so many tenants. I hope it's a good one. And if I come to my tenant, hang on. It looks like I didn't switch my tenant. Sorry. What happened? Oh, maybe, well, is this one? Come on. Yeah, it's not happy. It's not letting me change my tenant. I don't know why. I'll try it one last time, and otherwise I'll go on. You need to believe me that this tenant is working, but it looks like it's looping. It's not allowing me to change tenants. And I'll go with my real account. Because here I've got a demo account, so maybe there's something not good with it. Should be able to change tenants. There's no reason to prevent me from doing that, but just in case. It's still looping. Oh no, this one is working. So I don't know why there's an issue with the other. So yeah, I've got my Active Directory. Here it is. And inside that directory, I should have my application, which is registered. Here it is. As you can see, I did many demos already. And that application is registered to authenticate me with my personal account and give me permissions. So let's go back here to better understand what's happening and what we can do from it. So my app is starting. As you can see, it's a blank app at the moment. As I've got the Azure Active Directory starter, which is configured, I'm being connected. And so that's a 404 page because there's nothing yet in my app. So let me create some code so we have something to show. And let's have a look at what we can, how you can use Active Directory here. So first of all, I'm going to use to add yet another dependency. So it's a specific dependency to use Timeleaf with Spring Security. So as we just discussed earlier, so Timeleaf is a template engine for Spring, and I want it to understand Spring Security because I want to use the security information that we are going to get from Active Directory. And I'm going to add now a specific index.html page. So I've already coded it because I don't want to live code HTML. That's I would say that's not very interesting for most people. So let me paste it here. So let me just have a quick look at this page. So it's a web page, of course, and that web page is dynamic. So we can see we've got some template stuff here. What is interesting here is that that page here is going to display here a name which comes from Spring Security. So if it doesn't work, I'm going to see Bob. We can open up that page. Let me reveal it in Finder. If I open it right here, so here that page is not working. You know, it's not a. We're just seeing the HTML page, so it's showing Bob. That's how you can, if you are a web designer, that's how you can work on it. So here the page is not working. But now let's have a look at the same page, but this time running with Spring Boot. Let me run it with Spring Boot here. And let's come back to our page here. So I had a 404 page. Now I should have that index page running, and I should get security information from Active Directory. As you can see now, I'm logged in as Julien Dubois, so I'm logged in with my name, and that name, of course, is nowhere in the app because there's like nothing in the app. So that name came from Active Directory. So you can see from Active Directory, I can get my name, I can get my email, I can get my roles, I can get anything from it, and it's extremely easy to use because, as you saw, I just had like 3 properties to put here, and then I can use it directly. So my app is running. Well, it's running. It's secured. Still not doing a lot of things, obviously. What I would like to show you now as a second step is how I can deploy it to production. So let me just introduce you Azure Spring Cloud. So there are different ways to run that kind of application on Azure. Honestly, if it's a very simple app like this one, I would recommend App Service. App Service is very easy to deploy a very simple jar file like here. But if you want something more advanced, here we have Azure Spring Cloud. So Azure Spring Cloud is a cloud service that we build with VMware, so with the people who do Spring. And Azure Spring Cloud provides you with a whole set of tools as a Spring developer who does microservices. So it's mostly oriented towards microservices. You can run a normal web app like I'm going to do right now, but it's mostly for microservices. We have here, for example, we've got a config server to configure your microservices. We've got a discovery server so that microservices can discover each other. We've got, well, lots of tools to help microservices, Java microservices run on Azure Spring Cloud. Let's just have a look here at my apps. Currently, I only created one app already, which is the app I'm going to use right now. I created it before because it takes like, I don't know, 20 seconds, and I do not want to waste time creating it. It's extremely easy. You can click and you just tell the app name you want and select the Java version, number of CPU, and so on. The number of instances. That goes. I did not. I thought it was stopping at 100, but it's 500 now. Looks like it's bigger than before. So let's not use too much resources just to do a test. So here I'm creating an app with 3 instances. So this is a platform as a service. Basically, you don't manage anything. You don't manage the discovery server. You don't manage the configuration server. You don't manage your. Tell it how many nodes you want. You tell it the CPU that you want. You also tell it if you want automatic scalability. It can scale them automatically, up and down, of course. But basically, you're just going to send your app to Azure Spring Cloud, and it's going to run those apps and manage them for you. There are 2 ways to deploy your app, by the way. Here, I'm going to use the simplest way to do it. Well, no, not the simplest way. The quickest way to do it because it's a demo. So what I'm going to do is use a couple of commands. Let me just show you 2 commands here. So I'm going to do it. I can totally do it with my IDE, but I'm going to do it on the command line because, well, everybody has got the command line. So I'm not doing something specific with the IDE here because that will limit probably what some people. So here I can package my app. That's a normal Maven goal. So this is going to package my app as an executable jar file. That's one way to build my app. And once done, I'm going to deploy it to Azure Spring Cloud. And for that, I'm going to use this command line. As you can see, it's AZ Spring Cloud app deploy. So I'm using the usual AZ command line to deploy the jar file, which is here, so which is the one which I have just created. That's the fastest way to deploy because I build it locally and I deploy it, and that's going to be very fast. There's an easier way to do it. I can just deploy my source code, and then my source code is built by Azure Spring Cloud. So it's probably even easier because you don't even package anything. You just code your Java code and send it. But it's a little bit longer because it's going to be compiled on the server side, whereas here I compiled it locally and I've got a huge machine. So it's a little bit faster to do it that way. So that's why I'm doing it that way for the demo. When you are working for real, well, they have both their pros and cons, basically. So here, I'm deploying my jar file. I can have a look at my logs. Oh, so by the way, so I can of course do it on the command line to see the logs. I can see logs. Probably did it recently, so I can have the logs here on the command line. But oh yeah, it's deploying. That's why it doesn't find it yet. It will find it very soon. Anyway, I'm not going to do it that way here. It's easier here to use. So we've got an IDE. So we've got IDE plugins for many Azure tools, and the Azure Explorer here understands Azure Spring Cloud. So we can just click here, and we can see, oh, you see test, which is the application I created just before, and weather is the one I'm using. And I can just click here on streaming logs, and I will have the logs. If it's running, it's because it's not deployed yet. I said it was going to be fast, but maybe it's because I created many instances of test. It's waiting for test to start, but usually it's faster than that. You just have a look here. Yes, test is, I don't know why, test is still creating. Should not take long, but it just stopped everything. Okay, well, let's just wait a little bit. Let's not worry too much about that. I'll continue the demo and we'll have a look at this just afterwards. So normally I have deployed here my app into production. Of course, I would like that app to do more than just display an HTML page. I want that app to do some real business work. You remember we wanted to do weather alerts, so to send alerts to the public. So here I'm going to add, what time do we have? We have still 30 minutes, so let me code it. Doing this depending on the time we have. So I'm going to code a specific controller for that. So that's a Spring Boot controller. By the way, by default, they make all controllers public. You don't need that. So let me remove that. I don't like useless code. As it's a controller, I'm going to put an annotation on it, add controller, and tell it to get all the requests from Slash. I also like to have a logger. I'm generating many stuff, as you can see, but so here I've got a logger that I'm going to use to better understand what's happening. So let me first create a first controller. So this one will be to publish alert. So publish, and it's going to get a Pojo. Let me call it. So it's going to be a new class at Pojo, weather alert. It's going to be the real weather alert. And of course, that class does not exist yet, so let me just generate it. A weather alert is a class which has got a couple of things. It has got a message, of course. Well, let's just put it a message. It's enough for what we want to do, and let me just generate getters and setters for it, and also a toString method, so we can have a nice view of what that message is. And so that message is what we're going to receive here. Well, we're going to do some log, so we can get the message. Sending message, and as I put a toString, that will be good. So at the moment, it's not doing anything. Oh, it's going to return. So as my web page is alone, it's not going to do much. I'm just going to tell it to redirect to the home page. So we've got nothing happening. Oh, by the way, my app deployed. Well, let's have a look at the app that we just deployed, just to show that it's running. So my app is here, and exposed here. So I still need to log in. So security is still running. Well, I'm in production now, but it's still secured. And we can see that we are live here. So, oh, by the way, if you go here to that URL, you can use it too, of course. Well, no, because you need to log in. So if you got my password, you can log in as myself and say that. And we can see that we are, well, straight away in production. So it's quite easy to go into production here. And let's just have a look at the logs. You remember it was not working. So on the command line, if I ask for the logs, I should get them. Here they are. We can see that my app started in 7 seconds, which is not that fast. In fact, we'll see if it's working better afterwards. And now I'm using the Azure Explorer. And let's have a look at the streaming logs here, because this one is, I believe, more useful because you just click. It's easier than typing everything. Just to show you that we've got Maven plugin, we've got also Gradle plugin, but we've got also IDE plugin. So we got you covered, whatever tools you want to use with Azure. We don't limit our developer experience to just provide you with a cloud. We provide you with toolings, so command line and IDE toolings, so you can work easily with whatever tool you are comfortable with. And I've got really a lot of demo effect today, so it's taking time. So we'll have a look afterwards also at this one. Not very happy about this one today. Well, not very lucky. So I created my controller to send messages. Oh, sorry, I forgot to map it to a URL. So it's going to be a post. So when people will publish, sorry, the log is arriving now. It's not making my life easy. So here is the streaming logs from the IDE plugin. So I can see my logs here now. So that's cool. Now let me go back to my controller. So when people will send something on the publish URL, well, we get the message here. We will just log it, so we know it works. And by the way, as we've got security, we can secure it. Secured. So that's a Spring security annotation, and we can say role_admin. So when somebody with the admin role, which is what I have, of course, I put myself admin. Well, I will be able to execute that, and if I don't, it will not work for me. So let me just, well, first, let's have a look locally. So I'm going to reboot my local app. Let's have a look locally, and then let's deploy it again, just to show the workflow. As a developer, I would probably first work locally, which is what I'm doing now. Here I am local. Log it again. And let's do a Bern user group message, just to show it. I'm not cheating. Well, just wanted it. And now let's have a look at the logs. And we can see in the logs, I've got a weather alert Bern user group. So I got it here in the log locally. And if I want to deploy it to production, well, I can just go back to the terminal here. And you remember we did that command line. So let me just do before Maven package. And to go faster, something skip test, of course. And once it's built, I'm going to deploy it. And that should deploy my app to Azure Spring Cloud automatically. Of course, that's something that normally you would automate. Personally, I'm using GitHub Actions all the time. So I'm putting that into GitHub Actions. So what I do is that I just do git push. Then GitHub Actions takes control of it. It runs the test. It builds the app. It deploys it. And it's in production straight away. Of course, it works with like any CI/CD solution because, yeah, as you can see, it's just one command line, so it can work anywhere. What is important to note here is that I can automate everything. I just need to do git push, and I'm in production, which is extremely nice from a developer perspective. Just doing git push to the main branch, and you're done. That's perfect. What is deploying? Let's improve that a little bit, because here I'm not doing much. In fact, I said we were going to send messages, but I'm not sending them. I'm just putting them in the console. And that's why I want to introduce another Azure service, which is called ServiceBus. So let me just go here to my main, to the Azure portal. I already created one. This one is easy and fast to create. Let me just detail a little bit what this does. So ServiceBus is a well-known Azure service for receiving and sending messages. A lot of people use this like what you would use Kafka. By the way, it's compatible at the API level with Kafka, so you can use it as a managed service. Since very recently, I don't remember the date, but it's extremely recent, we've got support for GMS. So as a Java developer, because I'm a Java developer, I'm used, of course, to the GMS API. Well, I could also use the ServiceBus API or the Kafka API, but here I'm doing this as a usual Java developer. So as a usual Java developer, what would happen is that here I would like to use GMS to send messages asynchronously and also to receive them. As a Java developer, that's very easy because I've been using this. Well, that API has been out for I would say 2 decades for GMS 1.0. So it's a very old API that everybody knows. It's also very good support, for example, here with Spring Boot. And also it's an API which is very easy to use because basically you're just sending and receiving messages. So it's basically what I would like to use as a Java developer. I know it's compatible. So here with ServiceBus. And the thing here as a Java developer is, I would say if I was doing that like 10 years ago, so let me just go back here. If I was sending messages here 10 years ago, I would still be using GMS. I would do exactly what I'm doing here. Same thing for security, by the way. This is exactly what I was doing, maybe even more than 10 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, you had already, or 15 years ago, you had exactly the same thing with Spring Security. The difference today with Azure is that, so I've got the same job as a developer, but as somebody going to production, well, 10 years ago, it was very complicated. Here, you needed to have your own Active Directory server. And if you wanted to send GMS messages, you needed to have like ActiveMQ. So you need to install it, to cluster it, to secure it. And the role here of the developer was very simple. At the time with Spring, we had a great user experience. But as somebody going to production, we had a lot of work to do and a lot of trouble. The huge difference here is I'm having the same job as a developer, but I can go to production. It's like a couple of clicks. And I'm not having any of the headaches that we used to have a few years ago. And that's where the revolution here is. It's the role of the admin people, of the ops people, is a lot easier today than before. And as a developer, I can do everything myself. Whereas a few years ago, well, I needed a few months and a lot of people to help me put that into production. So let's have a look at adding GMS here. So first thing I'm going to do, like I did before, I'm going here to my pom.xml file, and I'm going to add a new dependency. So this time, it's Azure Spring Boot GMS Spring Boot Starter. So it's another Spring Boot starter. So if you are a Spring Boot developer, you're used to those. It's how everybody configures stuff with Spring Boot. This one is also coming from Azure. It's like Active Directory. And I'm also going to need to configure the starter. So to configure it, I need a specific connection string in my configuration file here. So let me just show you how it works. We've got 20 minutes. Let's do everything by hand. So I can say, okay, spring.gms.servicebus. So servicebus is here. I need to put a connection string to have the security access to ServiceBus. So let's go to ServiceBus here. We've got shared access policies. I've got here a key. And I'm going to use this connection string here, copying it, pasting it. And believe it or not, that's all I need to do. So now I've got basically GMS working, and I can use it directly. So just, let me show you sorry, just let me show you one more thing here in ServiceBus. In ServiceBus here, we've got queues and topics. So if you've done GMS before, that's what people use all the time. So topics is something you subscribe to, sorry, and you get messages from it. And queues, it's a little bit easier. You send message to a queue and you can receive message to a queue. So I already created a queue here. And that queue should be empty. Let's have a look here. We can have a look at the queue. It's all empty. So I've got an empty queue here. And let's send message to that queue using GMS. So let me go back here to my app. And for that, so what I want to use is, so Spring developers love this. It's private final GMS template. So that's what Spring developers have been using all their life. Oh, sorry, I need to refresh my Maven dependencies so you can see it. Come on. I don't want Spotlight. I want, here it is. And I'm going to call it, well, GMS template. As this is a private field, it's going to create for me a constructor. So my GMS template is automatically injected by Spring Boot. So that's all I need to do to have access to my GMS template. And now here I can say, okay, GMS template. Well, please convert and send the message that we've got here to the test GMS queue that we created before. So I will just put my message. Here it is. So that's to send my message to the test GMS queue. Let's come on. Let's do it directly into production because I'm not scared. So here I'm just building it again, sending it to production. And as soon as it's in production, we're going to be able to use it here, type a message, and have a look in my queue to see if the message was received in the queue. Once that message is in the queue, again, this is like a Kafka bus, so anybody can subscribe to it, can get messages. You can use it, that message, in other languages than Java, of course. You can do, I don't know, Power Apps function that does something with it. That sends SMS message to people. You can also read it in Java. If we got some time, I will also read it in Java. But I'm guessing you get the point. And we've got a way to send asynchronous and secured messages to everybody very fast. We're in production. We have something which is highly scalable, both on the application side here with Azure Spring Cloud. Here. So this scales beautifully. And also my message goes to ServiceBus. So that also is fully asynchronous and can scale very well. Let me just go back to my message. Here it is, my message queue. So we are live, we are deployed. Let's have a look at the streaming logs. Oh, let's have a look at the streaming logs again. Yes, I want to see my logs. So my app is running, it deployed in 9 seconds. And if I go to my production app, here it is. Let me just log in again, still secured. Here is another message. I'm going to publish that message. So we're going to see it first in the logs, because you remember we are sending the logs. Here it is. You can also see in the logs that we've got a GMS connection, so we can guess it was sent over GMS. Let's have a look here at our queue. ServiceBus Explorer, pick. Let me have a look. Yes, there's one message. Can we see that message? Yeah, here it is. And that message is, here is another message. So we received the message here. We can see it's all running fine, and I can go to production very easily. So as we've got a few minutes, let me just show how I could receive messages doing the same code. Well, let me just copy paste it here. Here I can do the same thing. I was doing a post request to publish. Now I'm doing a get request to read the message. And this message is going, and this code is going to read all the messages from the queue and display it on my web page. And if I want to do it live, let's go back here and let's package and deploy again. And we will be able to read the message. I guess you got the idea here. The idea here is that we're still using very, let's say, very simple and usual Spring Boot code and very simple Java code. You see, I'm not using anything very weird. I'm injecting a template. I'm using it directly. And this is code which we would have written, I would say, yes, 15 years ago. It would have been nearly the same. We've got security. We've got asynchronous messages. We've got everything, I would say, cool from 15 years ago. But now we use it with modern services. So when I deploy to the cloud, I can, first of all, do it very fast, very easily. It's already deployed, by the way. It's weird because it was taking some time initially, and now it's getting faster. So maybe it needed some time to eat up. So let's type another message. Or let's put anything. So now when I will read, I will get the previous message and then the second message here. So let's read messages, read, and I put them in the logs. Oh, sorry, I didn't show the logs. Streaming logs. So here we should see those last two logs messages. As you can see, receive message. Here is another message, receive message, TTT. And let me do it live now, so we can see them. Let's put something else. So now I publish it, sending message, and now we received message. So it's really easy now to go to production and to have something which is secured, scalable, both for your application, so with Azure App Service, with a security system which is very robust, so Active Directory, and also messaging system, which is very scalable and robust, which is ServiceBus. I can use today all those services in production very easily, as you could see, but also I'm doing that thanks to one trick. You saw me several times going here to my pom.xml. I'm also doing all of this because we provide Spring Boot starters for all of those services. We also provide them for Cosmos DB, for Key Vault, for blob storage. So there are a huge number of services in Azure which benefit from those. So the Spring Boot starters make them very easy to use for any Spring Boot developer. And that works everywhere. By the way, it's not limited to Azure Spring Cloud. I could use that with Azure Functions or with Azure App Service. If I wanted to deploy my app as a serverless function, I would still be able to use the ServiceBus dependency here to send asynchronous messages from from an Azure function. So everything we've seen here is working all across Azure, and that's going to make your life a lot easier as a Java developer. Now that we've seen all that, of course, a little discussion about best practices and to open the discussion. Of course, you should automate all that using a CI/CD system like GitHub Actions or Azure DevOps. That's what I'm usually doing. If you want some information about those, let me just give you here. I've got a workshop. I've got two workshops. So if you want to learn more about what I've been doing here with Azure Spring Cloud, we've got here what we call Microsoft Learn. Let me zoom a little bit. So Microsoft Learn here, I've got an Azure Spring Cloud workshop where you can learn a lot about Azure Spring Cloud. So basically what I've been doing here just to deploy applications. This is very complete, and I would say it's rather beginner oriented. It's Microsoft Learn, so it's supposed to be easy. That's something you're supposed to be able to do during your lunch break. If you've got more time and want to do things which are more complete, here it is. I've got here a full training on the Microsoft GitHub account. This one is going to take you the whole day, but after that you will know everything about Azure Spring Cloud and also a little bit about the starters we have just seen. What is interesting here with regards to what we just talked about is I've got a full chapter on CI/CD So if you want to deploy everything using GitHub Actions, well, there's a good example here of a GitHub action that takes your code, logs you in, and then deploy your app, which simplifies what we have been just doing here. Thanks to that GitHub action, I just do git push on my master branch, and we're done. So it's even better. Well, if you want to learn more about Azure Spring Cloud, so either the workshop here that's the easiest one, or the training here, which is the complete one. I will send them. By the way, I can already send them on the chat. Let me come back here so you can see me, and also I can put them on the chat message. So the first one is here. So that's the learn module, and this is the training on the chat. Of course, if you want to have, oh, I see Stefan already did it. Thank you, Stefan. And if you want to discuss well, any of those, of course, I'm available right now. I think we're just on time. So I don't know, Stefan, if you want to take back the mic and if there are any questions, because I was like muted, so I didn't see anything. So
no problem. Thanks a lot, Julien, for your session. It was very interesting. And I guess we'll open up for questions if any questions are to be asked from the audience.
Maybe just one question there about, you mentioned that ServiceBus is compatible with Kafka in terms of topics and queues, I guess, but not in terms of API. Then you would probably need EventBus, right?
Oh, sorry. Indeed, I did a mistake. Yes, sorry, I did a mistake. Indeed, yes. With EventBus, you are compatible with. The mistake. Yes, there's EventBus and ServiceBus. ServiceBus is doing GMS, and EventBus is the one doing Kafka. Sorry. Okay. Cool. I keep mixing them both because the names are similar. They do similar things, but they are not the same thing. Yes, so I did a mistake. Yes.
One other thing is there. You showed that you configured the role admin.
Yes.
And I guess you did it on the application there in the manifest somewhere. You configured the roles, right?
Yes. So in Active Directory, you need to configure the names of the roles. So you can have roles in Active Directory. So I just got a user role and an admin role in Active Directory. Then, so to be honest, that's a weird thing to do. You might have seen it in my application.properties file. You need to map them. So you need to tell on the Spring Boot starter, which roles you want to have. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know why you need to do that, because I would rather have it automatically. I'd rather have all the roles arriving. Maybe it's a way to limit them, because some people have a lot of roles. That's probably like a technical limitation here. But so you need to tell in your properties file which roles you want, and then when they arrive inside Spring Boot, and that's specific to Spring Boot, it's a well, nothing we can do, but it's a little bit strange. It's called role in uppercase underscore, and then you've got the name of your role. So it's like, role uppercase underscore, and then the Active Directory role, which is in normal case. So it's that's why you've got role underscore admin and admin in lowercase. That's a bit weird. That's just the way it works. It comes from very early in Spring Security. Very early in Spring Security, you had like role underscore all the times. And they kept it as a prefix. Honestly, it's just wasting characters, from my opinion, but it's just how it works.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
And and by the way, with Spring Security, you've got those add secured annotations, but now we've got some standard annotations in Java. And they also work. Everything works after that with Spring Security. So it's like totally decoupled from Active Directory. It takes the roles, and then Spring Security does the rest. So you're not with Active Directory anymore after that. So whatever you read about about Spring Security works. Everything else works. It's just like a bridge between them, and then you are with Spring Security. So as a Java developer, you are back to, I would say, normal business. And you you never see Active Directory as a Java developer.
Mhm.
Well, as a Spring security user, you don't see Active Directory at all, which is good. I mean, as a Java developer, I don't want to to learn about Active Directory. So it's like we separate teams. There's like people who know Active Directory, and that's very good for them, and people who know Spring Security, and usually those people don't match. Don't match.
Cool.
Um,
Yeah. I guess if there are no questions from the audience, I would really like to thank you, Julien.
Well, you're welcome.
I guess you can reach Julien on Twitter as well if you have any further questions. And,
yeah. I was
yep.
just thinking one thing. I'm sorry to interrupt you,
No
but
problem.
so the talk was about Java on Azure. So of course I didn't talk about .NET because that was not the subject. But I'm guessing you have a lot of .NET users in your group, and Azure Spring Cloud is supporting .NET now. So you can also deploy .NET applications the same way on Azure Spring Cloud. So maybe it might be interesting to a few people in your audience. But of course it's a totally different topic.
Cool. Thanks.
So thanks a lot also.
Okay.
Sounds great. And I just want to like say goodbye by yeah, like make you notice our next meetup, which takes place on October 22nd, and it will be about Azure Sentinel. Thank you very much, Julien. You will find the recording on the Java on Azure YouTube channel later on. We'll make sure that you recording, Julien, that you can publish it there. And yeah, thanks a lot for joining us. If you want to reach out to us, to the Azure user group, go ahead and do this on Twitter. And yeah, we would be very happy if you would join us for our next meetups as well, of course. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Yeah.